Welcome, y'all. You're checking out a new RCWR show for Monday night of September 27, 2021, covering the latest in all things wrestling, entertainment, and beyond since 2011. Great to be back with you guys here. We are just less than 24 hours removed from the Extreme Rules pay-per-view event. And, it was the drop, the fall, heard all around the wrestling world. As far as Finn Balor goes, it looks like Lily and the Finn Balor spot from Extreme Rules was two of the most talked about things from the pay-per-view within the last 24 hours. So, look, when it's all said and done, I'm glad that WWE really made it be their mission to put forth an effort to put on an entertaining show, and that's exactly what they gave us tonight. So I definitely got to give them a lot of props because they did. They actually did deliver the goods tonight. And I'm not just saying that. I know normally when we come on here every single week, for a majority of each week, I come on here and I'm usually, Raw was so-so. Raw was average. Raw was... but no, this was actually one of those rare nights where Raw was actually pretty damn good. It was actually a pretty damn good show from start to finish. So look, I've got some polling options for you guys. YouTube.com/the RCWR show. Click on the communities tab and you can cast your vote that way. And I also have it available on Twitter at the RCWR show. And by the way, we do need to revisit that Extreme Rules poll that we put up for you guys less than 24 hours ago. Now that it's pretty much closed and it's over and done with for Extreme Rules. Remember, for those of you that are with us less than 24 hours ago, it ended with a majority from YouTube and on Twitter. When we just look at both respective polls, majority of fans gave Extreme Rules a thumbs down. So when we now go here 24 hours later and we see what's going on with the polling results, it stands as follows. Looking at what came about on Twitter, final results, 77% gave Extreme Rules a thumbs down. Meanwhile, 23% are giving it a thumbs up. So just marinate on that for a few ticks. 77% giving it a thumbs down, 23% giving it a thumbs up. Quick sidebar. One thing I want to do here, I hate to interrupt the flow of the show because we're just getting started, but one thing I want to do here, I want to bring back our chat box. So let me actually bring that back here. And then the other thing that I want to do is I actually need to be able to see when you guys are actually chatting. So give me a second here. I need to bring in my chat box docs. So hang on here. Docs, yes. Give me the chat one. And we should be good to go. Interesting. It wants me to sign in so I can look at the chat box here. Hang on here, guys. Sorry about that. Hopefully this will take care of it. And if not, then I'm going to have to... improvise here. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stop because it's now giving me this stupid little select all the squares with vehicles. That's what it's giving me right now. I guess we can play this little mini game real quick, right? We can play this little mini game real quick. And let's hit next real quick. Oh my God, are you serious? It wants me to do another one. Okay. Same game, right? No, now they're saying traffic lights. Okay, well, all right. Well, that's easy. And we should be good. Nope. Apparently I fucked up. So, okay, I'm going to have to improvise and look at the chat room another way. So I'm looking, but the font size and all that is a little bit small in the window here. So I'm actually going to try looking at I'm going to actually look in the YouTube chat box. I'm going to actually look in the YouTube chat box. So if you're tuning in via Twitter, Facebook, and you're going to be leaving comments. I'll try to do my best to recognize those comments, but my shit is down right now. I'll have to figure out the login information later. Again, we were doing some, not to bore you guys with the technical mumbo jumbo bullshit, but I was playing around with some settings because when we were here for the Extreme Rules post show, I was telling you guys how Periscope was getting ready to just finally be put to sleep. And as a result of that, we were being encouraged to make sure we connect our Twitter account so we'd be able to continue to stream live, have that as a option and everything. So that's kind of where we are right now. That's why I'm not able to see right now our chat box and see where everybody is coming from. So kind of got to do a little bit of shit off the fly here for tonight. Now, let's talk about our YouTube community poll for Extreme Rules. I think those results last I saw kind of similar to what went down less than 24 hours ago. 62% of you gave the pay-per-view a thumbs down. Meanwhile, 38% of you are giving it a thumbs up. I repeat, 62% gave Extreme Rules a thumbs down. 38% a thumbs up. So damn near a mirror image of each other. So appreciate everybody that had cast their votes. Always appreciate that as always. Now, in regards to Raw tonight, YouTube poll very early, but I'm seeing 100% of the votes so far are giving it a thumbs up. Meanwhile, taking to Twitter, where we have a better snapshot, usually, I'm seeing that, where are you? 13% are giving Raw a thumbs down. 88% are giving it a thumbs up. So, look, whenever, you should know this by now, whenever I'm feeling a particular way about a show or a pay-per-view, and we put these polls out, very seldom is it a case where, okay, yeah, we're not matching up. Very seldom. I would think out of a whole calendar year, maybe about 3 instances where we're not matching up. So the fact that we all are pretty much in sync here in regards to tonight, I think that's a damn good thing. Honestly, a damn good thing. So, hey, before we get started officially, I want to give mad congrats because the news had came about. I didn't see it a couple hours before Raw, but I definitely saw it while Raw was on. And I want to give a mad shout out to Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey has given birth. She's given birth to a beautiful baby girl. And I want to show with you guys a picture that she had shared on her social media accounts here. And I apologize for those of you that's only going to be able to listen to the audio version of the show. I can definitely describe to you what I'm showing to our listeners, viewers that's checking out the webcast version. But on her social media account, she had shared a photo of, you don't see Ronda Rousey's face. You pretty much just see she's wearing some type of a white t-shirt. She has a white bra up underneath it. And you see this cute little baby hand that is pretty much kind of not on her chest, but kind of more so like on the upper part of the chest blade area. It's such a cute picture. It really, really is. You just look at it and you just go, oh, you know, it just warms your heart and everything. And those of you that are fans of Ronda Rousey, you know that this is something, as far as having a child, this is something that's been very passionate that she's been wanting to do for a couple of years now and everything. And it's kind of one of those, when does the opportunity present itself and all, you know, when, you know, if not now, when. And, you know, I think that's the trend that has happened for a lot of households during this whole pandemic. You know, if there was ever a time to, hey, when are we going to work on that kid? When are we going to work on starting that family? The pandemic has definitely, look, if you haven't been working on kids, you've definitely been having sex a lot more in regards to the pandemic, because you've really been able to catch up with your significant other and all that. So, you know, it's just, it warms my heart. Now, I do know the name of the child. I only want to pronounce the first name because, man, when you just go over the whole name for the child, I don't want to be disrespectful in any type of way as far as mispronunciations go and all that. And I think when you guys see the name of the child, you go, "Oh wow, that's a pretty long name." Yeah, it is a pretty it's a pretty long name. Yeah, without a doubt. But I believe the name of the baby girl is Lakia. Lakakia. If you guys can bear with me a second, I just want to look it up real quick here, look up the name, and I can definitely tell you guys off the break here. And it's basically paying homage to her husband's side of the family and everything. But the name of the baby is Laakia. Laakia. Last name Brown. And Brown, of course, he is from the Hawaii area and kind of following his roots and everything. So it's kind of following up on his side of the family and all that. But yeah, La Akia. I think that is a pretty name. There's a middle name in there, and it looks like Giannis Antetokounmpo. You know exactly if you know your basketball. I'm already butchering it. I'm not going to even try. But when you look at that middle name, it's got one of those kind of unique middle names. So, yeah, that is. Can you just imagine though, for that child as they're growing up? Take it from those of us that well, look, I'm very fortunate. I don't have a complex middle name whatsoever. But some of my friends that I grew up with, they've had some complex middle names very similar to to this young girl, and it's kind of one of those. Yeah, you know what? We're just gonna abbreviate the hell out of that. We're not even gonna acknowledge that. It's kind of like one of those type of deals. And I tell you what, I would not be surprised if, as this child got older, if she figured out some type of a way to abbreviate it. I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up abbreviating it to Michaela or Makala. Yeah, I think Michaela kind of flows off the tongue better especially when you look at that middle name. Trust me, if I were to pronounce it, I would be. You thought me trying to pronounce Giannis Antetokounmpo, you thought that was me butchering big time. No, this middle name is just really, really, you don't want to touch it. But yes, congrats to the Ronda Rousey family. That is just phenomenal to hear. So much good things has been happening for a lot of folks in 2021 alone. Marriages. I know I got married in June. People finding out that they're pregnant, there's a kid on the way, people announcing engagements, people tying the knots. Speaking of tying the knots, Dewdrop related. Congrats to Dewdrop. Dewdrop had recently tied the knot. And that is just, wow, that is freaking badass. She had what looked to be a very beautiful ceremony. Some of the photos that she has shared and everything. I tell you what, the photography work, magnificent. So yeah, a lot of good stuff that's going on there. So I definitely wanted to push that out there up front, out in the open there before we officially went any further into the show. So look, I like the fact that Raw opened up pretty much on that good, strong semi cliffhanger from the pay-per-view, because remember, we had that challenge be put out there from Bobby Lashley to Big E. Hey, no New Day, no bull crap jumping from behind like you did. That's why you're the WWE champion. One-on-one, let's do this. I want your ass. Let's do this. Give me a fair shot. Give me a fair opportunity, and I'll prove what you did to me. That was just luck. You're just a one-hit wonder. Big E accepting that challenge. Remember how it was during the pay-per-view. We found out kicking off Monday Night Raw was going to be Big E, Lashley, WWE Championship match. And that's exactly what we got. And it was off to a really good start. Both men really putting their all into it. I love that pimp bitch slap that Big E had gave to Bobby Lashley there when they were kind of rumbling in the corner and the referee had to try to pull them apart. You're wondering who's going to attack who first right here. You're wondering who's going to get in that little cheap attack, but neither men went on ahead and just at cheap attack. Instead, Lashley is just backing off of Big E, doesn't even strike him, doesn't go for a low blow. Big E kind of appreciates that, but nah, he wants that competition, and he just literally smacked the bejeebus out of our boy Lashley there. So all that was pretty good. I really had liked the tone they had set in the opener. But then at some point we see, and we haven't seen these guys, God, it feels like in a couple of months. Definitely Shelton Benjamin. But we saw Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander wearing their Hurt Business t-shirts. You're going, oh, snap, the band, they're getting back together. Fuck, yes. Yes, I will drink that. Yes, let's see these guys get back together. And you're like, yes, 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 because a lot of us had felt that these guys had broke up way too soon. Way too soon. But we saw these guys, they're smiling and everything. Now, they did not do anything to Big E. I want to stress that. They didn't do anything to Big E. They just looked on at Lashley, giving their nod of approval. You're going, oh, okay, all right. So this is pretty much how Lashley is gonna win back the WWE Championship. Okay, cool. Next thing you know, you see New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods come out, and they just start beating the holy crap out of Alexander Benjamin. The action somehow makes its way into the ring right when it was looking as though Lashley was about to seal the deal. Next thing you know, pandemonium, it's just chaos everywhere in that ring. And the match was pretty much thrown out because some of the guys had inadvertently bumped into Lashley and Big E. So the match was pretty much tossed out. Adam Pearce coming out there pretty pissed off, laying down the gauntlet, saying, no, this is not how this is going to go down once and for all, especially going into this draft. We got to have a definitive winner. We need to know who's going to be coming out of this as the champion. You guys are going to do this again later on, main event match, and we're going to just seal all of this up. We're going to take care of this. We're going to squash this once and for all inside a steel cage. Fantastic. That's just fantastic. Now, look, if you were there at the arena in attendance, then you already knew something was up with that steel cage. You probably were able to put 2 and 2 together if you were live at the arena, going, probably going to be a fuck finish, and we're probably going to see this match again, steel cage match. If you were thinking that way, man, shout out to you guys. But for those of us at home, we didn't see the steel cage whatsoever. I mean, they were pretty good with the camera angles that they were taking. They were pretty good in not showing us the steel cage, at least as far as what I was able to see there. Did do a little tiny bit of fast forwarding through the entrances and all that, show opener, all that stuff. But as far as I know, we didn't see it until it was finally announced that was going to be going down for the main event match. So you hear that, you're going, okay, all right, well, pretty good. All right, let's do that. So going into that main event match for the WWE Championship, pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. I got to tell you, though, there was a part of me that was thinking maybe, just maybe, Lashley was going to win the WWE Championship. But all of that went out the window for me personally when we got the Goldberg vignette. I know we're kind of going a little bit back and forth, a little bit kind of all over the place, but we're still talking Monday Night Raw here. By the way, I will sound off about the Broken Skull sessions on Seth Rollins, and I will also sound off about the Dark Side of the Ring episode on Chris Kanyon in just a hot little bit. So make sure you keep it right here. You definitely, if you're very curious what I have to say about those two respected episodes that came about past couple of days, definitely keep it right here. But yeah, we go into that main event match leading up to it. We get this little buffer with Goldberg, who's going to be joining the WWE Universe via satellite to follow up on what went down between him and Bobby Lashley, his son Gage getting choked out and everything. And once you kind of got that little spot right there, you're still kind of thinking, maybe this could go either way. But then the more I don't know about you guys, but the more I personally thought about it, I said, you know what? Nah, he's not getting that championship, because remember what Goldberg said one of the last times we saw him, which was, this is not even about a WWE championship. This ain't about titles. This is just about putting what was once wrong, making it right. Goldberg just coming for that ass. This is literally what it's all about for him right now. And that just kind of weighed on me even more going into that main event match for tonight. And I just said, nah, he's not winning this. He's not winning this. We're going to go to Saudi Arabia. Ain't going to be no championship on the line between Goldberg, Lashley. It's just going to be these guys just duking it out. Would it be nice? Had it been nice if it was for the WWE Championship? Yes, without a doubt. It would have been nice if it was for the WWE Championship, but sadly, that's not how it played out. But it was still an excellent steel cage match there between both men. I definitely got to give my hats off to them. You know, I find it interesting because Adam Pearce had said that New Day, Hurt Business, they pretty much were banned from ringside, and yet we saw these two respected teams come out during this main event match, and you're going, can we get a little bit of order here? Because this is freaking ridiculous. And after we came back from a commercial break, officials and all that, they did clean house. They did eject all of those guys. That way it could just squarely be a one-on-one match with these two guys. And look, I will continue to say, I've been singing the praises of Bobby Lashley. I most recently sung his praises on the Extreme Rules post show. Lashley has really been coming into his own, especially now that you've pretty much just, okay, no more Hurt Business. And now, oh, forgive me there. Let me take away that Ronda Rousey graphic there, right? There you go. And, it's like, okay, Hurt Business guys, all right, that's over and done with. And now he's without MVP. All right, so you would think that, okay, we've taken these things away from you that's essentially made you a badass. You would think it would hinder him in some type of way, but he has just been continuing to be that savage beast, and his work ethic in that ring, badass, just badass. Him and Big E, I've really been enjoying their chemistry these past several weeks. I really have. It's truly been one of the main highlights over on the Raw side of things. And, for all that it's worth, to see this feud essentially get pretty much, okay, it's over and done with. I mean, it was pretty definitive by the end of the night that is it for Lashley and Big E. Because after all, Lashley now has to focus on Goldberg. And then besides that, we also saw what was on the horizon in some form for for Big E in the form of Drew McIntyre. As Drew McIntyre came out, just taking his little sword and just pointing it at Big E as Raw pretty much was going off just like that. And I just thought that was a very interesting tale and a spoiler at the same time, because feel me on this. So if we got this WWE draft that's going to be coming up on beginning on Friday SmackDown, and it continues on next week's Monday Night Raw, then, the narrative should be something along the lines of, okay, maybe we actually shouldn't have Drew McIntyre come out here pointing the sword and all of that, because for all we know, he could be drafted over to SmackDown. And that's pretty much going to be the end of Drew McIntyre on Monday Night Raw. So, just kind of thinking about that, you really take a step back and you think about it. It doesn't quite make sense that Drew McIntyre came out there and he's like, yeah, I'm next. That's what's up. You, I want you. You're next. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I think the powers that be in WWE might have overplayed their hand a little bit here. Now, look, for all we know, maybe they didn't really put enough fine thought in the details And for all we know, maybe McIntyre is going to be drafted over to SmackDown. But just the optics, the way it's looking right now, just think about that. Oh, I'm going to make this challenge. I want them next. It's like, yeah, well, are you even sure you're going to be able to take them on next? Because we got this draft coming up. So is it really a guarantee that you're a lock? You're going to stay on this brand, right? It's kind of, you got to think like that. You got to think like that. That's not me being a dick. You know, I fuck with Drew. I like Drew McIntyre. Wasn't always the case since he's been the baby face, because we still don't have that definitive. What made you decide to change your colors there? Why you change your stripes all of a sudden? We still don't quite have that definitive, this is why he did what he did. But yeah, that was just kind of so weird, so random on so many levels there. But great main event matchup between both of those guys. I cannot say enough kind things about what they had did tonight. Both men should honestly be very, very proud of the performance that they had tonight, because it was good. It really, really had delivered. And I tell you what, another thing that I'll say about WWE Raw tonight, you had a couple of matches there, including what Lashley and Big E were doing. You had a couple of matches where you're just saying, wow, these really would have been good on the Extreme Rules card. And the fact that, I don't know, maybe you could make an argument that WWE really were paying attention to the feedback that was coming about on social media and on podcasts and you name it. And they kind of decided, okay, well, you know what can we do to kind of, you know, make Raw be, you know, a really good companion piece to the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Now, look, not for nothing. Don't get it twisted. The Extreme Rules pay-per-view was a decent card. If you remember, I was very kind to it. I said, look, let's give that pay-per-view a 7 out of 10. I said it would have been an 8 if the stuff with Lily, Charlotte, you know, Alexa Bliss, if you all remember that. The other thing I brought up was, where was the Brock Lesnar? As it was teased that Brock Lesnar was potentially going to be appearing at Extreme Rules. And for that to not even happen, that's why I went on ahead and said, now, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give the pay-per-view a 7 out of 10. So I thought what they did tonight, though, was definitely a good companion piece to that pay-per-view when it's all said and done. But those guys, Big E and Lashley, they must have had about at least 22 minutes of a match for their steel cage match. So, I mean, that was pretty damn good. Solid main event, above all else. Very fun to watch. Can't really complain about that whatsoever. I don't see how anybody else can complain about that match as well. Just poking my head in the chat. You guys, once again, if you're kind of just trickling on in and you're tuning in, normally the chat box that I'm able to see is disabled right now. So I'm going about seeing what you guys are saying. Literally, I'm in the YouTube chat right now. I'm literally in there right now. So if you're watching the stream via Twitter or Facebook, sadly, the only way I'm going to be able to see your comments, I actually got to look at the OBS screen here, since you guys obviously are not in YouTube here. I see Freddie is saying, speaking of significant other, he got engaged in late August. Well, congrats on that. May your wedding preparations, the planning and all that, may everything go smooth. And you notice, if you've checked out the Patreon shows that me and the wifey has done, which, by the way, Patreon members alert, I did put up a new episode of Wrestling with the Topics today. And for the next 2 days, I'm going to be releasing abbreviated episodes of Wrestling with the Topics. I think the Wednesday one, I should be able to get the wifey to join me on that one, FYI for you guys. But as I've brought up, as the missus has brought up on our Wrestling with the Topics series, you know, when it comes to wedding preparations, make sure Freddie and everybody else that recently got engaged or are in the mix of talking about what to do with their wedding and all that, the planning stages, make sure that as much emphasis that you're putting into your venue, your guests and all of that. Make sure you're putting that same energy into everything. Everything. Don't just be 110% in one area. Have that same percentage in all aspects concerning your wedding. So catering, photography, what are you going to be doing for your honeymoon / vacation period? Make sure you're putting all of that attention into those details. Otherwise, you will sadly get lost in the shuffle. You will be, okay, this was good, but then over here, this was kind of lacking. And damn, I thought I had disabled Twitch, by the way. I had turned on Twitch by accident because I told you guys I was so done with Twitch because every time I was turning around, somebody was always saying, oh, the Twitch stream isn't working. And I've done like boy, all the other streams are working. What the hell? So you guys that's tuning in via Twitch right now, I hate to be a dick and do this, but I'm actually getting ready to turn the Twitch stream off. You guys are more than welcome to watch on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, okay? You got your warning right now, so I'm going to go on ahead in about 30 seconds, and I'm going to disable the Twitch stream because I haven't had the Twitch stream on in probably a month just because I kept getting that. Usually, guaranteed, if I were to do 3 shows in a week, one of those shows in a week, I would constantly get, oh, the Twitch stream, it's not working. So has that been about 30 seconds? I think so. So we're going to go on ahead and disable that. Boom. There we go. And what the hell? Okay, that's kind of weird, but all right. That's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because as soon as I had did that, hang on a second here. Let me go in another way. Here. There we go. Now it's disabled. Ha ha ha. Now it's disabled. There we go. Good. Anyway, so yeah, pretty good. Thinking about the rest of the matches that came about from Raw tonight. Oh, and I just got an idea. Hang on a second, y'all. I know another way I can go about having the chat so I can see where everybody is coming from here. So bear with me a second. There we go. Okay, so I got another chat box up. So for those of you that's watching in other outlets, I've now got the browser chat up, but there's a couple of windows that I need to close here just to make sure everything is running without any issues here. So, all right, so my windows are closed. So yeah, thinking about some of the other action that came about from tonight's Raw. You know what? For what it was worth, I enjoyed seeing vicious Shayna Baszler out there once again. This Shayna Baszler that's out here and she is just fucking bitches arms up. I'm loving that. I am really loving that. It's like we're getting that nice throwback to that savage Shayna Baszler that was essentially taking no prisoners, right? Like I'm loving that about her right now. So, her latest victim being Eva Marie. I guess Eva Marie isn't really much of a screamer either because that joint, it was like a fainting scream. This is one of those instances where I really wish that instead of her scream, we could have just slid in there the Howie Long scream. I'd play the Howie Long scream, but I remember some years back when I had played the Howie Long scream, we actually had got a copyright claim by like a boatload of various production companies that were claiming that was their sound effect. It was like fucking hilarious. And it's like, what the hell? Right? But if you know your football, you know Howie Long, you know the story about the Howie Long scream right down to the point. It's funny because everybody just goes the Howie Long scream, but that's not Howie Long screaming. But he pretty much just made it famous because of what he did in Broken Arrow. But not to bore you guys, there's a really fun story behind that scream when you look at the history of it as far as where it originated. Yeah, it's fucking badass when you trace the steps of it and all that. But I love seeing Shayna Baszler come out there and pretty much just choked the hell out of Eva Marie. I mean, so now we got this Shayna Baszler that is essentially putting women on the shelf, so to speak, because nowhere in sight did we get Nia Jax. And we didn't even, as far as I know, we didn't even get a recap of what Shayna Baszler had did to Nia Jax on last week's show. So that was like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? That was pretty whoa. Eva Marie, though, she pretty much was out there. It was an end result of her causing interference in Doudrop's match against Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship. And Eva Marie came out and she pretty much had caused the distraction because Doudrop couldn't believe that Eva Marie was out there mingling in her business once again. A little bit of storyline stupidity here too, you know, a little bit of stupid booking 101. We haven't done a stupid booking 101 segment in God knows forever, right? But peep this out. If you're being told, you know, you as the TV viewer, you're watching everything that's playing out and everything, and as the show is progressing, you know, you're hearing that Charlotte Flair is putting out there an open challenge. She's pretty much beaten anybody and everybody that there is, and she pretty much is like, okay, now what? Because I've essentially put Alexa Bliss out on the shelf. There's like really nobody else because I've pretty much beaten everybody else. Well, let's just do this because I'm feeling like a benevolent queen. I'll pretty much whoop anybody's ass anyway. Let's do an open challenge. So if you hear that the champion is putting out there an open challenge, then you as the wrestler, why would you go to Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce and say, hey, is it okay if I can challenge Charlotte Flair for the women's championship? It's a fucking open challenge. Just go out there and claim it. I can't believe that we actually had got that segment. That segment was pretty mind-blowing to me. I didn't quite, that didn't make sense to me whatsoever. Now, I think the way that could have been cleaned up a little bit, I think if they would have had Doudrop go in and say to them, hey, I just wanted to ask you guys about this open challenge that Charlotte Flair is doing. Is that open to anybody, or is it just to former champions? Is there any restrictions? And then if they would have been like, no, there's no restrictions whatsoever. So if you maybe want to take her up on that challenge, go ahead. But pretty much whoever comes out first, they can pretty much get the match with Charlotte. If they would have just tweaked it like that, I think that would have just been fine. But it was just, for some of you guys, you may not have been tripping over it like that. But for me, like, the fine attention to the detail, it's so freaking important. It's so freaking important. But yeah, that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. That was pretty much just once you saw Eva Marie come out, causing a distraction. I mean, it pretty much was over. Wham, natural selection. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. That pretty much was it. Eva Marie gets in the ring afterwards, very pleased that she was able to put the screws to Doudrop once again. Charlotte Flair, though, yeah, okay, great. You helped me, but I didn't ask for your help. I pretty much had this under control. She proceeded to beat the holy crap out of Eva Marie. So once we come back from a commercial break, Eva Marie is standing there in the ring, and she's talking about how if she would have been able to do the open challenge instead of Doudrop, she would have not only beaten Charlotte Flair, she would have became the new Raw Women's Champion. She can pretty much beat anybody that's put right in front of her. This pretty much had prompted Shayna Baszler to come out in her street clothes and like a freaking beast. I mean, she has just been coming out there like a female Brock Lesnar, which I'm cool with because that's what I had fucked with when she was down in NXT and all that. She reminded me of a freaking Brock Lesnar when she was just going in there and she was breaking women left and right. I was loving that about her. So to see her go in there and just pretty much destroy Eva Marie, good stuff. Good stuff right there. Damn good stuff. So hope that trend continues. And honestly, going into the draft, we'll talk a lot more about the draft in a hot second. But in regards to the draft, I hope that as far as a fresh start goes and everything, I would love to see Shayna go over to SmackDown. You know, I would definitely love to see that. But then again, you hear these rumblings that's going on. We got a new report. Take it with a grain of salt, but you got something floating around there about Alexa Bliss that supposedly she's going to be off WWE programming for the foreseeable future. Reasons why, not really known or whatever, but that's the report that you got floating around. So is this maybe WWE's way of just furthering the storyline there between Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, and essentially did what went down at the pay-per-view less than 24 hours ago? Was that kind of their way of, all right, we need to get away from this Lily stuff, this hocus pocus thingamajigga, and try to get back to vintage Alexa Bliss? You could make that argument. You could definitely make that argument. Have to kind of, maybe wait and see how this plays out. What I'm going to be paying attention to particularly is the draft. I think everything at this point just depends on what goes down with the draft coming up. We'll talk about the draft too in a little bit. I got a couple of ideas I want to run by you guys as far as who I think is probably going to get drafted. I mean, we're not going to do a long drawn out, but I'm just going to give you guys just a couple of names of folks that I think are going to be drafted. And I'm not really too focused on the supplemental stuff, but the main stuff is what I'm really focused on. So yeah, that should be interesting to know. I'm most curious to see what's going to continue to happen there with Alexa Bliss and everything. Raw tonight pretty much had about, about 6 matches, maybe about 7 matches total tonight. So not too shabby, tonight. I'm looking at the rest of the card for tonight for Raw. Oh damn! You know what? The rematch for the United States Championship between Damian Priest and Sheamus, that was a instant banger. That was a instant classic banger. Hats off to both of those men. They took it to a whole new other level. I got to tell you, I wouldn't have minded if this match would have been on the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. This style and everything. I would not have minded if we'd have gotten this match. But you know what? Hey, it's all good because we got that incentive for checking out Monday Night Raw tonight. So I'm okay with how everything had laid out, honestly. But that was a sick-ass match between Sheamus and Damian Priest. I mean, look, Sheamus, we've been here on this show talking about for a good series of months in 2020 alone how Sheamus has been the MVP for Monday Night Raw. And to close out September, he definitely the MVP yet again. Just the work that he's been doing with Damian Priest all month long, and for everything to pretty much culminate and what they did tonight in this banger classic matchup. I mean, you just can't help but, it really feels as though with everything that's been happening, particularly with Damian Priest and Sheamus, you just kind of feel as though, all right, Sheamus, this is your pet project. Do what you can to really help elevate our boy here. And Damian Priest, you just kind of feel as though this is being done not just with reason, but I don't know. I just kind of get this feeling that maybe Sheamus, now that he's done essentially what he's needed to do to really help put Priest on that next level, I just kind of feel as though maybe Sheamus is going to get drafted. Again, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but God, his consistency and just excellent storytelling. I mean, just badass. I mean, this was a 15-minute classic matchup. If you did not watch Raw tonight, but you got it on your DVR, check it out. Check out that match in particular. You will do no wrong with that matchup. You will do no wrong with that. But yeah, this just, the way it felt to me, it felt like this is it. That's it for him. And I just don't really know going forward how much more you can do with our boy Sheamus on the Raw side of things, So that's just kind of where I'm at right now in regards to that. There was another classic matchup where Riddle took on AJ Styles. That was actually a pretty good matchup as well. Got to take my hats off to both of those guys, Riddle and AJ Styles. Another classic banger matchup. Excellent chemistry together. Holy fucking balls is all I gotta say. I mean, these guys really, really brought it. AJ Styles picking up the dub post match. Omos coming in and just destroying the hell out of our boy Riddle. Randy Orton nowhere to be found. I mean, that is just nowhere to be found. Did what he did in recent weeks, but now he's nowhere to be found. He's on a nice little bit of a hiatus break once again. By the way, I got to give the line of the night to Corey Graves and Byron Saxton because it was so funny. I actually took it down as a note, but at one point, leading into this whole Riddle AJ Styles match and during their commentating for this matchup, Corey Graves had the line of the night. He said something along the lines of, "Oh man, you just gotta try Riddle's gummy bears. You gotta try one of Riddle's gummy bears. They are awesome." And Byron Saxton comes right in. It was perfect, right on cue. Immediately he goes, "I'm not into sweets." And you just couldn't help but bust up laughing because you're going, we ain't talking about just regular gummy bears here, man. We're talking about some laced fucking gummy bears, right? We're talking about that. Ooh, them gummy bears that make you kind of high, right? So for Byron Saxton to just, I love it. I mean, his comedic timing, it is just fucking perfect. But yeah, I was howling like a mofo on that one. That was good shit. So props to Byron Saxton and Corey Graves for that one because that was really awesome. But yeah, Riddle, AJ Styles, banger classic matchup. Love that. So that was good. All these matches I'm talking about so far, it was I think we had about 8 matches basically. All these matches, pretty damn good. If I'm really looking at a match where it's what, we really could have done without that one. Honestly, I didn't care for Veer, Shanky, Jinder Mahal taking on Jeff Hardy. Who was the other one? Mustafa Ali and Mansoor. I didn't care about that one. Matter of fact, when that match was playing, I let my dog out. My dog wanted to use the bathroom. I let my dog out. That's honestly how not interested I was in that matchup. So I let that one be. Other matches, Akira Tozawa taking on Keith Lee. This was pretty much a squash match. Keith Lee picking up the dub. I mean, this pretty much was over in 2 blinks. Just 1, 2, and it was over. Everybody's talking about the whole, Keith Lee, making a big deal out of the fact that he's now known as Bearcat. Keith the Bearcat Lee or Bearcat Keith Lee. Okay, so. And why are we fussing about this? It's interesting how some people just like to nitpick over certain things without first understanding the substance, understanding the context of even why Keith Lee is at that point. There's got to be some type of a meaning behind. And as I always like to tell people, research. It helps to research. Perfect example. I was kicking back last night. This is kind of non-wrestling related. It's not long-winded, but I was kicking back last night after the Extreme Rules show was over, and I was watching the Sunday Night Football game on NBC. I was watching the recap. Well, not really the recap. I was watching the original run of that game. I just pretty much had it, on my DVR in my library, and I was checking it out. It was the who's playing again? It was the 49ers taking on Green Bay. And as the game was playing, I was just doing a little bit of research, just reading random stuff, because I like trivia shit. And I happened to come across, I don't know how, but I came across this thing that basically was did you know that Rod Sterling was technically not the original host of the Twilight Zone. And I'm going, huh, wait, what? And I just went down this rabbit hole of seeking information, right? Now let's link that back to the whole Bearcat Keith Lee. I'm sure I kind of already done my research, so I kind of have an idea on why Keith Lee is being called Bearcat and all that. Based on a little bit of research that I done, I have my suspicions, if you want to even call it that, or I have my ideas. I would say to anybody that has not taken the time out to do their research to figure out why he is now being called that, do your homework. Do your homework. And if part of that homework also involves checking out any interviews in the near future that Keith Lee is going to do, where he will be shedding even more light on that whole thing, then make sure your ears and your eyes are tuned in on that. But for me, it's kind of like the question that I was asked last night by somebody in the chat, as a matter of fact. And again, I do see what you guys are saying in the chat. I see one question that I'll tackle. I'm not trying to be dismissive. I'll tackle it, but yeah, it's kind of one of those, why did the chicken cross the road? It's kind of one of those type of questions. But, for me, remember the question we had got on the post show last night about, do I think Becky Lynch needs to change her gimmick? Does she need to change her look and all that other stuff? Something like this. Like, okay, so big deal. Keith Lee has this new attire thing going on. He's got this new in-ring name that's going on. I look at it no different than, okay, so Karrion Kross is pushing the whole demolition thing. And people were just in an uproar, tripping over that whole shit. It's like, man, I don't care about any of that shit. At the end of the day, what I care about the most is what that wrestler is doing in the ring. I care more about them getting themselves over, the fans connecting to them, all of that, everything just clicking. That's what I care about. Man, my man Keith Lee, hello Naomi. My man Keith Lee could be called Keith. Boy, that's a big ass dude, Lee. He could be called that. I don't care. It's just what I care about the most. What's going on with the in-ring stuff? What's going on with the connection to the crowd? What's going on with the opportunities that he's being given? And is he capitalizing? That's what I care about the most. Tell you somebody who I just was going, well, that was a nice fun experiment. Jason Riker. Jason Riker, pretty much squash match. Lost to Karrion Kross tonight. Is what it is. I don't know what's more funnier. The fact that it seemed as though there was so much promise there with Jason Riker, or we had this account last week, I believe it was, where they were trolling the hell out of Jason Riker, and they were saying that he was given his release from WWE. I don't know if you guys saw that on social media last week, and you're going, whoa, what the hell? Jason Riker was released, and there was actually a decent amount of people that were a little bit perturbed by that. Some of them were going, why the hell was our time being wasted like that then? What the hell? And it was so bad. So bad. And your man actually fell victim to it when I saw that initially, because I'm going, oh man, that freaking sucks. What the hell? And normally I go on ahead and I always double check. Triple check. I'm always researching my shit before. And I felt so bad because I remember, of course, when he was Gunner, Impact Wrestling, I had him on the show some years back. And I got a hold of, some contact information that I remember and, ultimately reaching out to him. I didn't call him or anything like that. I don't do that. But I remembered a contact method that I had used to touch base with him. And I remember I had sent him just a short little message and letting him know, hey, man, just heard about your release. Oh man, so sorry about that. Hey man, I think everything happens for a reason. You just continue to keep your head up and forward, always forward. And then something just bothered me about what I had read. I'm like, something seemed off about that. I went back, I checked it out, and the next thing you know, I'm like, oh, there's a link. Let me click on this link. And basically, it was a Rick Roll link. And I'm going, okay, so this motherfucker is just being the yuck, yuck, yuck. He's trying to be funny. That's what that is. And I just, fuck, I blocked that dude. And then I went back and I hit up Riker and I was like, dude, I am so sorry. I was like, I fucking got played like the rest of the people online there. In case you aren't aware, and I shared the link with him to let him know, hey, somebody's spreading some fake news. It's nothing but fake news about him and everything. Yeah, but to see him in that squash match tonight, it was just kind of okay. So yeah, you know, I have an idea in regards to Jason Riker. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Anthony is asking the question, why won't the WWE call the WWE Championship the World Championship? I think they're personally doing a good job as it is. Anthony, don't you think you're kind of overlooking that a little bit? Because we've got the Universal Championship, and then we have the WWE title. Why do we need to go to, and I mean, not for nothing, but you have certain guys when they cut promos and everything, not for nothing, but when they're recognizing that WWE title, you hear a lot of them say, I will be the WWE champion. I will win the WWE championship. I will become your WWE champion. Same thing when you flip it. You go to SmackDown. I will be your next WWE Universal Champion. I will be your next Universal Champion. I am the Universal Champion. That would be like me saying, you know, well, shit, in regards to the Intercontinental Championship, you know, why can't we, you know, I used to think it was kind of cool when it was often referred to as IC Champion. Why can't we bring that name back a lot more when mentioning the Intercontinental Championship? Why does it have to be so long-winded when we mention that title? Especially when you're looking at WWE programming particularly. Like, why does it have to be the Intercontinental Champion? The Intercontinental Championship. Why does it have to be so long-winded? Why can't we just, the IC title? Why can't we just abbreviate it? Everybody knows what the hell that title is. We know that title's not going anywhere anytime soon. So why can't we just, Anthony, I'm not focused on logistics like that. I'm not being disrespectful to you in any type of ways. Like, I don't have time to be thinking about little nuances like that. You know, it's kind of like, because it doesn't bother me. I mean, maybe it bothers you, maybe it bothers some people, but for me, it's kind of like what I care about. Look, you can say Championship 1 and Championship 2. What I care about the most, I'm being entertained. That's the number one above all else. And that's how you guys need to be thinking when you're looking at a lot of the stuff that you're seeing with some of these promotions, man. You got to make sure that you're kicking back and, you know, you're just really taking everything in and you're enjoying yourselves and you're having that good time. Because when you just focus on one tiny little thing and you kind of get to a point where you blow it a little bit way out of proportion, you know, it's kind of like somebody's pointing that finger at you and all you're focused on is that end tip. Like, try to focus on everything. You just focus on that tip, you're going to miss everything in its heavenly glory, as Bruce Lee kind of said it at one point. You feel me? Other stuff from Raw tonight. Yeah, we talked about Akira Tozawa. Ricochet had took on my boy Flipper. How Flipper was able to retain the 24/7 championship, it just baffles me. And I mean, you want to talk about the most silliest booking for a 24/7 championship match. I just shook my head and I just look, mark my words, once that 24/7 championship run of Flipper is over and done with, I think that's going to be it. Legit, I think that's going to be it. I truly believe that he is going to be shown the door, and that's it. That is it. I am not seeing anything of Flipper that would even suggest that, oh, this is a guy that could, he's definitely, no. Hate to be that guy, but if I got to fall on that sword, as far as making up my points and all that, I will definitely, I'll go there. We all can't like everything. We can't say all the freaking time, magnificent, glorious, superb. Oh, that was just amazing. That was just, no. You ain't running that shit by me. No, sorry. Other than that, just thinking about some other stuff that happened from Raw tonight. I think, Angel Garza getting a victory over Eric. I mean, that pretty much squash, essentially. Pretty much a squash. Yeah, that pretty much was Raw. I mean, we pretty much went over all the matches that was on the card tonight. I'm looking at it here. Yeah, that pretty much was all. So, despite some of those little hiccups that we talked about, overall, decent episode of Monday Night Raw. Definitely got to give it up to him for tonight. Again, a nice little companion piece to what all had went down on Extreme Rules and everything. NXT 2.0, the way they're dubbing this week's episode, they're saying that it's going to be all about the women, right? They're showing the women some love. Women haven't really been featured past couple of weeks since its repackaged debut and all that. So to get an episode where a lot of the women are going to be shown a lot of love, that should be a pretty good episode. I'll definitely be tuning in. I'll definitely be checking that out. So, I hope it's a banger. I do. I sincerely hope that it's going to be a banger. Hey, if you guys have been enjoying yourselves so far, y'all having a good time. If you haven't done so already, make sure you utilize that superpower of yours. Hit that like button. When you do that, you'll really help spread the word about our content and put more eyeballs on it. Thank you so much in advance. And if you haven't already, do consider subscribing as well, so you don't miss out on future content we got coming your way. Quick programming note, Tuesday night for you NWA fans. I know there's a nice amount of you guys that like my NWA coverage. It's going to remain as it is. We're going to do our NWA Power show. It's going to be coming on immediately after a new NWA Power. So we'll be on live at 7:05 p.m. Eastern after NWA Power has wrapped up. So that'll be fun. Wednesday night, we got a new RCWR show. That'll come on after Dynamite. We'll be covering not only Dynamite, we'll talk a little bit about NXT, key points, go a little bit all over the place. Be a good show. You guys will enjoy it, I promise you. So definitely check it out. You guys will have a good time. Real quick, AEW Dark Elevation. I see the matches that came about from this week. I've got the results. So if you guys don't want to know the results right now, feel free to come on back in about 30 seconds. I'll buy you guys about 10 seconds right now to disconnect. I mean, it's not a long-ass card. It's like literally 3 things that had went down on Dark Elevation. But if you don't want to hear the results, just walk away. Come on back in about 30 seconds, but I'm getting ready to dive into it in 3, 2, and 1. Thunder Rosa defeated Kayla Sparks via pinfall, came at about 3 minutes, 9 seconds. Dark Orders, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Allen 5 Angels, and 10 defeated TJ Crawford, Eric James, Kevin Tibbs, and Dean Alexander via submission, 5 minutes and 42 seconds. Main event match, Paul White defeated VSK, CPA, and RSP. Good God almighty, where's the OMG and LOL and GTFO? 3 minutes, 41 seconds in a 3-on-1 handicap match. Again, those are your results for this week's AEW Dark Elevation. While we're talking about AEW as well, I do see the numbers that came about for AEW's Rampage from last week. Remember, that was a 2-hour episode that they did of Rampage. It aired from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight. And I had a blast covering that show. In case you guys are not aware, you should be aware by now, but I am a columnist for the 411 Mania website, and I'm always providing live ongoing coverage for AEW from the minute it comes on until it goes off, and I immediately follow up with a review for that week's Rampage as well on the same website. So if you guys are, maybe out and about, you're not able to watch Rampage, you want to know what I thought about Rampage, definitely Friday nights, go to the 411 Mania site. And probably, definitely starting in October, I'm going to begin doing some columns here and there for 401 Mania. I'll probably just start off with just one piece every couple of weeks and kind of go from there. But keep your eyes peeled. Definitely keep your eyes peeled. As long as you're connected to me on social media, you'll know what's going on. But I see the ratings are in for Friday's Rampage. I had said in my review that I would be kind of shocked if they did not get about 750,000 plus for Rampage, because I felt it was a pretty strong episode. And although the first hour of Rampage was good numbers wise, the second hour saw a big dip. The first hour saw 727,000 viewers. That's pretty good. That is pretty damn good. You think about that first hour too, pretty much kicking things off. You had CM Punk, Powerhouse Hobbs, right? You had that going on. So, I mean, that was pretty much your welcome. Please have a seat. Watch this. This is some good shit. That was your hook, line, and sinker. That was your bait, basically, to reel you in. So you did 727,000 viewers. Meanwhile, the second hour pretty much rounded off to about 552,000 viewers. I mean, talk about a dip. Now, look, I know a lot of other people, they're going to be looking at those numbers, and you've probably seen it with your own two eyes. There's a lot of people that's going doom and gloom, laugh out loud, Rampage, and they're saying all kinds of silly little stupid shit or whatever, right? But look at it from this standpoint. This is what a lot of people are not saying in regards to that second hour of Rampage when you look at the numbers and all that. When you home in on that 18 to 49 demographic, pretty much during that first hour, Rampage did a 0.32 rating. That's pretty good. Going into your second hour, you did a 0.25 rating. Okay, so that's not really that bad. And when you look at the first hour on cable, that pretty much was the leader. It was leading the way in that key demo. Whereas when you look at the second hour, they came in at number 4. So think about that for a second. Wait a minute. 11 o'clock at night, Rampage is on its second hour, and pretty much in that respected 18 to 49 demo, basically, or whatever, just looking at that 11 p.m. time slot on cable overall and what else is on during that time on cable at 11 p.m. at night on a Friday, and Rampage was able to get number 4 for cable, you got nothing to be ashamed about. You got nothing to be ashamed about whatsoever. So when you just combine those numbers that I had talked about, the 727,000 for the first hour and then the 552,000 for the second hour, and you round it about and you try to figure, okay, so what's a good firm number? What did they actually do? They averaged 640,000. 640,000. That's nothing to be ashamed about. That's nothing to be ashamed about. I know a lot of people kind of went a little bit lower as far as what they think the new norm is going to be for Rampage. But I personally, I just felt that.
Come on, fuckos, let's go for a ride.
All right. We got a, what we get here? We got a, we got a super chat there from Anthony. Appreciate that, my brother. Appreciate that super chat. I love when we get that sound effect right on cue, man. That's badass when we get that right on cue. You got a message with that super chat? No, it's just a super chat. Okay. Well, thank you kindly. We appreciate that super chat. Thank you for that. No, and don't apologize, Anthony. Don't apologize for that. Anthony is talking about how the point that I made earlier about the championship was well taken. My questions might be a little off. I have brain damage from a car accident. No, Anthony, never, first of all, never apologize for speaking your mind. There is no such thing, and to anybody, there's no such thing as a silly, a dumb, a stupid, an irrelevant question or a comment for that matter. The greatest sin that you can do is not share any input whatsoever, to not react at all, to not give feedback at all. It's kind of one of those, well, hey, speak now or forever hold your peace. And if you're being silent and then some stuff goes down after the fact and you're like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. It's like, well, why didn't you say something? It's like, I don't know. It's kind of like one of those type of things. No, never apologize. Never apologize. Look, not for nothing, but in the previous years leading up to me doing this show, my God, knock on wood, healthy and everything besides having type 2 diabetes, but my speech impediment, there would be a lot of times in the previous years I would I would have a hard time getting some things out. And I remember when I had first began getting into the podcasting game, I remember those first maybe 2 years, I was a little bit all over the place. Maybe the first 2, maybe 3 years. And I really had to work hard in getting down that speech impediment as far as squashing it once and for all. And one of my biggest inspirations, in case you guys know your movies, your actors and all that, James Earl Jones. And I remember reading something way back when James Earl Jones pretty much had the same issue where he was fine. Nothing was wrong with him mentally, nothing like that. He just had a speech impediment where he would stutter a lot. And it wasn't until he was able to get in maybe his late 30s, early 40s, that he was able to finally squash it. But he worked really, really hard, very deliberate at getting it down. Joe Biden is another one. You wouldn't know it now, but Joe Biden is another one that had a serious speech impediment. He would always stutter a lot. And you notice, once in a while, especially if I'm really excited about something, I'll stammer a little bit here and there. Or sometimes you may hear me do a dramatic pause because only I'm trying to regain myself and try to stop myself from, right? So, it happens with the best of us. My point is nobody is perfect. And anybody that tries to claim that they're perfect, Anthony, they are just bullshit, and you just need to pay them no fucking mind whatsoever. And yeah, nice to know you're a fan of the show. I've definitely seen you around over the past couple of months. I definitely have seen you around and everything, and I like that. I like folks that have been supporting the show. I like those that support the show, they let their voices be heard, versus those who just want to pop up like once every 3 to 6 months. You know the type of people I'm talking about. They just do what they're doing just to get that acknowledgement, just to get that rub off. But you can tell from on social media when you're putting out stuff, when it counts the most, maybe you got married or some other stuff goes down, they're nowhere to be found. It's like they basically will only pop up when it's really convenient for them and when they can essentially try to get themselves over and make it be about them. I usually ignore people like that. I make time for those that pretty much make time for me. All of you guys that tune in live or you tune in on demand and on the downloads and you make time to check out my shit, I always appreciate that, and I always try to make time for you guys. I don't care if I'm doing a show for one person or if I'm doing a show for 10 people live. Hey, all right, show is a show. We got to do what we got to do. The numbers for on demand and the downloads, though, oh my God, I was taking a look at the numbers on demand and on the downloads the other day, and I'm not saying, oh my God, like, it was huge. It was huge. It was fantastic. It was huge. Great numbers. Great. Really great. It's big. It's really big. Bigger than my hands. Bigger than my feet. Bigger than, well, you know. No, I'm not saying it was like huge, but when I was looking at the numbers for the show on demand and on the downloads, I couldn't help but notice that for 2021 alone, when I just look at all the other downloads, September had its biggest month. And I think it was just really the totality of just everything that was going on. The passing of Daphne, the passing of Melvin Van Peebles. We also had All Out, all the stuff with CM Punk, the bleed into CM Punk going into the month of September. Because remember, CM Punk went down in August, but just the continuation riding into September. The pay-per-views that was going on in September as well. When you really kind of take a step back, September was a really good, strong-ass month. As far as wrestling content, even non-wrestling related stuff, it was a pretty strong ass month. So to those of you particularly that check out the show on demand and on the downloads, because I know one of our listeners, I think it's Mr. LH, and shout out to Mr. LH. He lives in the UK, so he's several hours ahead of us here on the East Coast. I think if, for example, we're live right now, and I've got almost 12:30 in the morning. I believe over in his neck of the woods right now, it is now probably 5, 6 in the morning or something like that. So I know usually with guys like him, they check out the show on demand and on the downloads and all that. Appreciate you guys that continue to do that, because it means a lot to just see the numbers I had saw over the weekend. I just couldn't help but say, wow, all that for September? Like, okay, that's pretty damn good. Okay. Right on, right on. So, yeah, Rampage. Look, I thought for sure they were going to get a higher number, as I said in my review. And I'm standing by because I know there's going to be some people, hey, Lee, you said on your 411 Mania review, you'd be really shocked if they didn't get at least 750,000 plus. What say you here now, man? Like, what's up? Eat that humble pie. I will definitely eat it. I will definitely eat it. But you know what? Honestly, and I even had said this a couple of weeks ago, I think the new norm for AEW Rampage, unless there's some big moments, as far as their viewership goes, they're probably, on an average, they're probably going to be getting somewhere between the new norm now. They're probably going to be averaging somewhere between 600 to maybe about 734,000 is probably what they're going to be averaging. I don't know. After what we had saw this past week, you would have thought that with 2 hours. I think part of the problem is, if you ask me straight up, like, what's part of the problem? I think part of the problem is we haven't really seen that full court press blitz for AEW support. Now, what do I mean by that? So, okay, if you're watching TNT for the original shows, you're probably going to get your AEW commercials here and there and all that, which is fine. But what I personally would like to see happen going forward, whenever NHL hockey, and we know that's going to be starting up next month, October 13th, we got to see that. We got to see that crossover. We got to see that love, that rub off from NHL onto AEW. And I hope this is in the cards, but if I could have one message to pass along to the people at AEW, it would be this. Hey, Tony Khan, see if you can get on the phone with TNT and maybe work something out with Chris Jericho and Chris Jericho's dad. And maybe they could be part of, like a special panel for your hockey pregame show, maybe even your post show. They could maybe call in remote or some stuff like that. I think that would be kind of badass. At least that way you still kind of have that built-in AEW connection and all that. And maybe for some of the AEW stars that are hockey fans as well, you can kind of bounce off of that, have them bounce off of Chris Jericho and the rest of the guys. I think that would be really, really badass. I personally feel the built-in history is there too. When you look at Jericho and his dad and all of that, I mean, it's perfect. It's a win-win situation. when you get the return of Inside the NBA on TNT, look, can we admit to ourselves, those of us that are basketball fans, or we are just casually flipping the channels, and we've seen a couple of games on TNT since AEW has been in existence, maybe only once, possibly twice. We've seen a AEW crossover on Inside. We need to get more of that type of crossover. You got to, because we're talking about tapping into that 18 to 49 demo particularly, and thus the domino effect that it can have on the programs, right? So that's how you kind of got to look at it. So we'll see what happens, but Rampage isn't going anywhere. That's already been established. It's going to continue to remain on TNT for the foreseeable future. It's not going anywhere. Dynamite, on the other hand, it's still planned to go to TBS a lot sooner than later. By the way, I got an image that I want to share with you guys. I had saw this message many times throughout the night, and it's quite sad. It's quite sad, but I hope things work out. I sincerely hope things work out. Now, let me see if I can actually, because the way I'm going to have to go about this, I'm actually going to have to put it up. I don't think I put it up on Facebook. Let me just look at my Facebook account real quick here, and I can honestly tell you if I did do it in time. No, I did not do it. All right, so let me do this, because this is very, very, very important. Let me see if, oh, no, I don't have the image. The image is actually on my phone, and my phone died. Okay, so let me set this up properly. If you are a YouTube TV subscriber, you may have noticed tonight, but then again, you may not have been, you may have not had access to YouTube TV tonight. If that was the case, you're in for a little bit of a shocker, in case you don't notice already. But YouTube TV has revealed that unless they work out some type of a new deal with NBC Universal by September 30th, then pretty much all the networks that are under the NBC Universal umbrella, they will be no more. So what does that mean exactly? That means that as far as USA, the Golf Channel, NBC, Bravo, MSNBC, Universal Kids, Telemundo, CNBC, NBC, SN, E, Oxygen, Universal, Sci-Fi, NBC Sports Washington. I mean, we're talking 14 plus channels that are going to be ghosts come September 30th if YouTube TV and NBC Universal do not work out some type of a new deal. Those are all the channels. Now, in this whole craziness that's going on, you've got YouTube TV that's saying, okay, well, in the event that we're not able to get a new deal, well, we'll definitely knock off $10 for all customers for the foreseeable future until maybe we're able to work something out and we get these channels back. So YouTube TV subscribers, they're already paying $64 a month, flat out, just $64 a month if you don't care for the HBO and all that other shit. But as my wife always brings up, and I brought it up to her tonight when she got in from work, I was telling her about the news, and she was like, well, shit, we don't really have that many networks as it is that we can watch that's part of our channel. And as a result of that, we have more been watching either Tubi TV, Amazon Prime, because we're watching like certain movies, TV shows on Amazon Prime, or we're spending a lot of our time watching stuff on Netflix. And really, the whole point of YouTube TV is when football's in session, basketball, of course, Monday Night Raw, having the ability to watch Ring of Honor programming, being able to watch AEW and all of that. But now we're talking about taking away all of those networks. So, man, that's a significant blow. I remember when I was pushing Verizon Fios. I remember a couple of years back before I had dropped Verizon Fios, the TV package, and I just kept them for the internet. I remember there was problems that was going on with NBC Universal back then. And again, this was with Verizon Fios. And I don't know where things stand now. So those of you that have Verizon Fios, you would have to let me know how things stand now. I would imagine everything's good. You all still got your NBC and all that other stuff. But I remember a couple of years ago, there was talk about, we're possibly going to have to say bye-bye to all of these channels under the NBC umbrella. But just, it's a headache when you stop and think about that, because this may not be of interest to those that, well, hey, I don't have YouTube TV, but you may know somebody that has YouTube TV, or you may have been thinking about cutting the cord and you're trying to see who are some really good viable options that's out there. And you've heard me off and on over the past year plus. I've put over YouTube TV. I've told you guys how it's a great alternative, especially for when you're traveling. My God, when particularly I was traveling from DC to North Carolina for the wedding, I was still able to catch up on all the shows, even my football games that I had recorded on the DVR via YouTube TV's cloud. And it was badass because it was amazing because as soon as I had got situated in North Carolina and I had launched the YouTube TV app on my tablet, YouTube TV was like, hey, we're just checking in with you because it looks like your zip code location is different. Are you traveling right now? It had like some type of a short little, hey, we're just checking it. Are you traveling right now? And I said, yeah, I'm just here temporarily. And they basically said, okay, great. Well, you can watch all the stuff that you recorded, all the stuff that you've got scheduled to record, enjoy your stuff and also enjoy the local programming that's in this area. So it was really cool. It's a really good alternative because you can pretty much take, as long as you know your YouTube account info, you can pretty much phone, tablet, or you're at a friend's house, you're on their computer, you can pretty much watch all your shows and everything. So look, you tell me, oh, well, we're going to take $10 off. It's like, yeah, that's nice and all, but that's not quite enough. So for those of you that are YouTube subscribers, and it's the only reason I'm continuing to go on and on and on and on and on about it, if you haven't found alternatives yet, because I know a lot of you guys, you care about a lot of these networks, especially if you are a big fan of the USA, you want to be able to continue to watch WWE Raw and all that. Hell, if you are a fan of Law and Order, SVU, and organized crime just came back last week. And this week they're doing a 3-hour epic crossover event. You want to be able to continue to watch all those good shows, watch your football and all of that. Here's some alternatives for you guys. Hulu. You can do Hulu. And these are all good companies. I've experimented with them at one point, tried their free trials, had no issues whatsoever. I just ultimately went with YouTube TV because I felt they had the more pleasing package to the eye. But as a good backup, you can go with Sling TV. You can go with Hulu. You heard me at one point mention Pluto. I kept getting them mixed up with the ones I've actually been using these past several months. Philo TV. That's spelled P as in Paul, Hilo. Philo TV. They are actually really, really good. That's how I'm able to watch Viceland. So I can see new episodes of Dark Side of the Ring. Because I know most people, they don't have access to Vice. And so that's how I'm usually able to do that. I don't have access to TV One because I like watching vintage episodes of, oh God, it's coming. Give me a second. My brain's it's late at night, kind of half asleep here. Unsung Hollywood and Unsung. I like watching those on TV One. So Philo TV, and they're pretty cheap. I think it's either $10 or $20 a month, and they're almost pretty similar to YouTube TV as far as, okay, you got this favorite series that you like to watch. Okay, just add it to your library, and you'll be able to get new episodes that you can access pretty much there on demand in their respective cloud. You don't have to worry about no silly little storage thing, none of that crap, right? It's just as simple, very easy to use. You can access a lot of these apps, tablet, iOS, Android. Some of them you can access on game consoles. I can't speak for the PS5. So you game console people that just heard me name some of those consoles, you guys are going to have to be the ones to kind of help everybody out and let them know what they can and cannot access. Like I know for PlayStation and Xbox users, I know you can access Sling and Hulu, but I'm not sure about the other ones. So get on top. And if you want to try to reach out to the people at YouTube TV and let them know, hey, yo, don't drop these channels, send a tweet, do a chat with YouTube TV, or push come to shove, switch providers. That's ultimately what you can do. Remember, you got Fubo TV you can look into. You got Hulu, you got Sling, you got DirecTV Stream, you got RCN, you got Fios, you got Comcast Xfinity, you got Dish. I mean, there's a whole lot of options that's out there. So consumer alert. This is going to be the one time that I'm going to mention it. And then probably what I'll do is put this as a little excerpt and make it be available on the channel for folks to check out and everything. That way they know. But definitely y'all do your part. And anybody that you know or you think you know that's got the YouTube TV, make sure you let them know what's going on so they don't be left in the dark. Because the way this is looking right now, you know, you hear stuff like this all the time, and they're going to be able to work something out. Nah, by the reports that I've read, this looks like 90%. There's going to be a blackout for all of those channels, all those networks. There's going to be a blackout. So, yeah, we were talking about Dark Side of the Ring, how I go about accessing it. I did watch the Dark Side of the Ring episode on Chris Kanyon over the weekend. I actually watched it with the wifey about, we were watching it right before the Extreme Rules pay-per-view because I was more interested in watching it than the pre-show. Man, my heart, my soul, every fiber in my body, it just fucking hurt for Kanyon. It did. I just wanted to wrap my arms around that guy so bad and just say, homie, you know, hang in there. If you down, let's try to get you some help because you're so beyond the point of here's some medication, you know, take a couple of these blah, blah, blah times a day and you'll be all right. You know, it was so much more than that. And, you know, all the signs were there. And for the people that were involved in his life that were trying to do their very best to help him out, but when you have that lack of communication that's going on and they're trying to figure exactly out, you know, what's going on with their friend, guys like Brian Cage, guys like the Young Bucks, guys like Luke Hawks. It was great seeing all of these guys pop up because, especially the Bucks, I had no clue whatsoever that the Bucks were friends with Chris Kanyon. I never knew that. So, I mean, I really went into this episode, the circumstances surrounding his death and everything, his career, you know, I remembered all of that, but to hear the stuff about, you know, who exactly were his friends and, you know, all of that was new territory for me. It was refreshing to see the sinister minister, James Mitchell. I mean, James Mitchell, as me and the wifey were looking at this episode too, and shout out to those of you that saw this episode to see obviously they recreated some of these fighting scenes that were going down with Kanyon and James Mitchell. But when we were seeing this stuff, I was saying to the wifey, I said, was he maybe in part acting this way not only because of his bipolar disorder and schizophrenia potentially, but was he also acting this way particularly towards James Mitchell, where he was abusing him and all that, because maybe there was a part of him that possibly was in love with him? Is it possible that maybe he wanted a little bit more than just friendship from James Mitchell? And wifey was like, it's possible, but can't really say for certain. And it was kind of one of those, man, if there was ever a time where I wish the producers of Darkseid would have maybe brought that point up, it really would have been nice to know. Obviously it's hearsay, and it's hard to say. You really don't know. You can't really speak upon it, but it's just something that you kind of can't help but wonder. But man, to go down that one particular memory lane trip where he was dressed up as Boy George, and pretty much everything that was being told to him, how he was basically being hyped up by Paul Heyman and powers that be in WWE, or we're gonna have you do this thing with the Undertaker. Oh yeah, big plans we got. And he is dressed up, and it's amazing because certain things are blocked out of my mind, but then the moment that I see this shit, I'm going, holy shit. It's like unlocking a memory that was just long forgotten. And not only is that memory triggered, but I'm also reminded of that year and everything that I was doing during that particular time. And to just see that moment, SmackDown, dressed up as Boy George, and he comes out of that little crate box singing his whole "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?" This man didn't just get a brutal beatdown. This man legit, like straight up shoot. He was getting his ass beat by the Undertaker. And Kanyon believed that somehow word got out about his sexual orientation, and he looked at it as him being punished. Because after that, we pretty much never really saw Kanyon again after that. I mean, who better than Kanyon? I mean, just the whole catchphrase and the stuff that he was doing there in WCW. Great fights that he was having there with Glacier and all. I mean, I remember all of that shit, man. All of that shit was fucking badass. But this man and the struggles that he had. But then we get that bullshit with the Nature Boy Ric Flair. That bullshit with the Nature Boy Ric Flair calling into the Howard Stern show. I remember listening to quite a few episodes of the Howard Stern show. I was at one point, and I still am, but I remember there was a period where I didn't even bother listening to Howard Stern because I just felt that he was too much of focusing on shock and awe, and a lot of the stuff that was going on with him, I just kind of found it to be pretty appalling, honestly. So there was a period there where I didn't listen to him for a good number of years. But I remember that period where Chris Kanyon was a regular guest on the Howard Stern show, and he essentially was like an unsung member. He was part of the whole Howard Stern crew and everything, and I used to love hearing him on the freaking radio show. And I used to love listening to him. And that fucking John Cena joint, look, when it's all said and done in regards to John Cena, of course, is going to wave that flag. He's not going to bite the hand that's feeding him. Nobody is. But for Ric Flair to go in, even at this point, Ric Flair was a made man. He was untouchable. unfucking touchable. For Ric Flair to say all the hateful things to Chris Kanyon, that just, and to just see this man before your eyes, like, here is this man, obviously he thinks very highly of the Nature Boy. He thinks very highly of him, respects the hell out of him. And for his idol, basically, one of his idols, to essentially verbally cut him down to size and tell him, you ain't shit, you never were shit, you ain't never gonna be shit, you're gonna continue being shit. Man, if that doesn't, and you're already in a fragile state of mind, way to get pushed over the edge even more. And this whole thing about, look, I'm sure in regards to John Cena, I would like to believe that the John Cena that we have running around today is not the John Cena, like hindsight's 2020. I'm sure that if John Cena could talk to his younger self way back when, and when it came to the whole comments about Chris Kanyon and the circumstances around why he was released from WWE and all of that, I'm sure if today's John Cena could have a few words with the John Cena of back then, he probably would have done things much differently, especially had he known all the stuff that was going on emotionally with Chris Kanyon. Ric Flair, here's a guy at this point 2 times older than the age of John Cena at that point in time. Knows better. Just some of the most hateful, venomous shit that I ever heard. Ric Flair wants to go on social media and pretty much say, after this episode premiered, I'm paraphrasing here, but he pretty much had said, hey man, all is love, and love, it's nothing but love. I didn't mean anything by it. I was just toting the company line. I was just waving the company flag. You know what? That's good and dandy. And anybody that gets an opportunity to interview the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and all of that, I want you to ask him this question. If you really meant well and you were just waving the company flag and all this other shit, if you really meant well, you knew that you were calling into the Howard Stern radio show. If you meant well, all this was a front, all this other shit, why didn't you immediately after the interview was over and there was a commercial break, why didn't you ask to speak to Howard Stern's producer and say, hey, can you do me a solid? Can you put Kanyon on the phone and make sure that me and him are not on the air? There's just something I want to say to him directly for nobody else to hear. And I'm sure he would have got it like that. Or if he would have said, hey, can you please tell Kanyon to give me a call right now, or something along those lines, I'm sure Kanyon would have fucking picked up the phone. And for Rick, hey, kid, I just want you to know, I think the world of you. I remember all the shit you did in WCW. It was good shit that you did. Hey, look, man, don't take any what I said personal. I was just putting on the front. I'm over here in the WWE now. I can't bite the hand that feeds me. You know what's going on. Don't take any of the shit that I said personal, because, yeah, trust me, you're good in my book. You're always a pro. I got nothing but love for you. Keep doing your thing, homie. Ask Ric Flair, how come, if it was all love and what was going on back then? Why didn't he, did he assume? Like, what was going on? Well, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm playing a rib on somebody and I gotta play a part, after I've done playing my part, I'm definitely gonna follow up afterwards. And, hey, are we off the air? Yeah, hey, by the way, look, hey, I was just bullshitting. I'm just making that sound good. But just think about that. To have your idol essentially tell you ain't shit, you ain't never gonna be shit, all you're gonna continue to be is shit. You were never really good to begin with. You ain't nothing. Yeah. And you're already in a fragile state. Yeah, you probably gonna go down even a more darker fucking spiral and all that. And then to struggle with his sexual identity, to come out to a priest early as what, a young teen. I think he was a teen. I don't know if he was like 12 or 13, but to basically say, he's gay, and the priest condemning him and, oh, you're going to go to hell for that and all this. And to battle that for so many years. That was a troubled soul. That was a troubled soul. And the Bucks, Luke Hawks, Brian Cage, James Mitchell, I give them a lot of props. They tried to do their best. They tried to do their best with that young man. And, it is very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. And see, look, y'all got to understand something that really, really needs to be highlighted here in regards to that Dark Side of the Ring episode. You got to look at that particular time period way back then, leading up to Chris Kanyon's passing. A lot of people still were not really jumping out there. Hey, mental health awareness. A lot of people still were not really being strong advocates and really pushing for, it's kind of like, man, you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to, you say this type of stuff. It's pretty much the end of you. It's the end of your career. And, a lot of people just felt that, okay, self-medication, I can take care of this. But the longer that this shit goes untreated, that's where things really, really, really spiral out of control. As I told wifey, I said, you just can't help but say to yourself, all those people that he was surrounded by who truly loved him and cared about him would, you can't help but wonder if on top of that, if maybe there would have been a love interest in his life. Man, that's great that towards the end of his life he came out and everything, but what about that one true special person to enter his life? With that, to basically, he could call them a life partner. Would that maybe have been enough or was he just too far gone? We'll never really know, sadly, but a very heartbreaking story. And of course, if you're the Undertaker, Jesus Christ, if you're the Undertaker, you can't help but, I'm sure now people are going to want to know straight from the source in regards to the Undertaker. Undertaker, what say you? All this stuff that was going on here with Chris Kanyon, what say you? Why was Kanyon given this vicious beatdown, these vicious chair shots to the head? And look, I think during that period, I don't think the whole Chris Nowinski, I don't think all that was in play just yet. I don't think it was in play just yet. CTE and the concussions, I don't think all of that was at play just yet. I think it wasn't until maybe a year or two, even 3 years later, that we got into that whole thing. But, if you're a fan of The Undertaker, you're now looking at The Undertaker and you're questioning, okay, what did he know about this and what did he not know in regards to this, right? Because it's definitely painting The Undertaker in somewhat of a bad limelight. You watch The Undertaker Last Ride documentary and you know of his intimate relationship with Vince McMahon and everything. It is a almost brother to brother, older son father type of relationship per se. You can't help but wonder, those two have had many conversations, intimate conversations over the years. You can't help but wonder if Vince McMahon, right? So now you got to look at Undertaker cockeyed and go, what's up? So, yeah, but I like the words that Father James Mitchell had said at the end of the episode, which pretty much was, if you know somebody that is bipolar, dealing with some form of dementia, schizophrenia, stay on top of them. Basically, don't give up on them. Go above and beyond. Get them the help that they need before it's too late. And, basically, pay attention to those warning signs. And like everything that we know now, I think, honestly, with the passing of Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington of Linkin Park, Robin Williams, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. All these people, mental health issues and everything, and the medications that they were taking and just all that. I think with all of these deaths that we've had, and then looking at more recent stuff, Hana Kimura, Daphne, you just can't help but go, wow, right? You're really blown, but it's really, as fucked up as it sounds, it's really created more discussion, awareness, and involvement on everybody's part. And hey, yeah, I do have this friend that's dealing with this. Yeah, I got this friend that's dealing with that. Let me make sure that, it's helping educate people and discussing it more and more. Whereas before, shh, no, I can't really talk about that because the shame, the scrutiny, I don't want no pity party. There's a lot of pride. There's a lot of bullshit that was going on with that. So Anthony's asking, do I think Undertaker will make a return to WWE live TV tapings? After what I just said, I think live TV taping should look shit. That's all I got to say. No, in regards to Undertaker, first of all, what exactly is Undertaker supposed to do? That's the first question. What exactly is Undertaker supposed to do at these live TV tapings? The only way I could see Undertaker returning to a WWE live event is if it is to officially give him that proper send-off that he so rightfully deserves. Because me and the missus talked about this on the episode of Wrestling with the Topics. And everybody, if you haven't, signed up for a Patreon subscription, do consider. It's like $5 a month. It gets you access to boatloads audio, video content, on a monthly basis. A lot of exclusive stuff you won't be able to find anywhere else. But when we were reviewing the Last Ride series, and there was a couple episodes where we were talking about Undertaker, and we brought up the whole notion of, okay, is this really, really it for the Undertaker, or are we possibly going to be seeing him one more time? And we both agreed that, and I got to give Tams a lot of props for this, because Tams called it, I think it was on the 3rd or 4th episode of The Last Ride, as we were just getting the episodes in real time once a week. She said on, I think it was either episode 2 or 3 of our review, she said, I got Undertaker retiring. He's going to announce his retirement by the end of this miniseries. And I was like, whoa, like, seriously? She said, yeah. She's like, that's just the vibe I'm getting. I'm pretty confident he's going to retire on this series. And sure enough, she was right. So, but when it came to, okay, are we going to see Undertaker again at a live event? We both agreed that it probably will happen, because when Undertaker, pretty much retired, I think if I'm not mistaken, when Undertaker had pretty much retired, it was kind of one of those, there were no fans. I think COVID was kind of going on and all that shit, if I remember correctly. And we just kind of felt, nah, he needs the proper send-off. He needs to have the thank you taker chants and all of that shit. He needs the proper send-off. And then it became one of those, well, where are you going to do it? And it's like, you either do it at a Survivor Series or you do it at a WrestleMania. some type of an anniversary joint. Like you got to do it at one of those joints. I think honestly, whenever there's going to be a WWE Hall of Fame ceremony in Texas, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, next year's WrestleMania, I think it's supposed to be in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. So that being the case, I would say look for Undertaker to return now that things are kind of getting better with the COVID numbers and everybody's getting vaccinated and all that. I would say look for the Undertaker to be the headliner for next year's Hall of Fame ceremony. If it is, in fact, if I'm remembering right, you guys will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm remembering it right, they're supposed to be in Texas in 2022. And if that's the case, look for him as the main headliner. And as part of that, he will get his proper, I think that will be the last time that you'll see Taker. Because when you watch that Last Ride documentary, it took him a good amount of years there to stop chasing the dragon, as he dubbed it. And he is just now at this place where he's good. He's good. He wants to remain retired, but if the old man needs something, I remember me and Tams just vehemently said, Vince, leave him alone. Just leave him alone. Let him ride off into the sunset. Leave him alone. He's paid his dues. Leave him alone. So, yeah, so we'll see. That's my prediction. That's my prediction, honestly, because Triple H revealed in an interview not long ago that there's basically a job for Taker behind the scenes, helping bring up the next generation of stars and all that. There's a job waiting for him, but for now, they both pretty much agreed, for now, let him go and enjoy his time away from the ring. He deserves it. So, yeah, that's where we are on that one. By the way, the Broken Skull Sessions interview with Seth Rollins, highly recommend you check that out. I'm not going to get into a long-winded, long drawn out review and and then he said this and then he said that. I'm not going to get into that whole spill, but what I will say to you guys, mad props to Stone Cold Steve Austin. He just has this kick-ass unique way of really flushing out the personal side of these actors that are performing these larger than life characters that we see on our TV sets every single week. He really has a great way of flushing out the real person behind these gimmicks, behind these characters, and you just instantly like these people. There are excellent qualities in these individuals that you find, great attributes that you find that you just find yourself latching on to. And, in the case of Seth Rollins, I always felt that Seth Rollins I always felt that not only was he a smart guy, especially like when it comes to his money and all that, but I also kind of felt as though Seth Rollins is one of those kind of free spirits, if you will. And that really came into full display. Like some of the stuff that I had expected, that I kind of was getting a reading on of Seth Rollins over the years, it was like, okay, you're validated here, but it opened up even more, and I'm going, wow, I didn't even know any of this other stuff that was going on with him and everything. And, it just really, really made me like this guy even more. I'm going to tell you something. Look, I'll be honest with you. I've always been a Seth Rollins fan. But man, I remember at one point there was some real fucked up shit that I had said about somebody that Seth Rollins had dated some years ago. And this was way before the whole podcasting game had really, really exploded, and everybody, especially wrestling personalities themselves, started doing the podcast. This was during a period where shows like mine, particularly, I mean, we were getting huge fucking numbers, and I'm not exaggerating. We were getting huge fucking numbers just on our live shows every single week that we were on. And so we definitely were reaching certain people. And I know for a fact that some of the things I had said about a previous girlfriend of Seth Rollins rubbed him the wrong way. And for the longest time, he blocked me on social media. He blocked me. And then just one day, I find that he unblocked me. And I think it was because, if I were to be honest, and some of us that have been in this podcasting game for a good minute, we all have been a victim to this. When we first start off, we do try to go for the shock and awe. We try to sound big and bad and tough. We try to sound like the old Howard Stern shows, like for some of us when we first started off and everything. And I can remember, even though some of the stuff that I was saying might have been valid, the tone, the language I use, the way I put Seth Rollins down, the way I had put this woman down that he was dating at the time, it was pretty bad. I remember even talking about some of the stuff that was going on as far as potentially cheating and all. I look back on it in retrospect, and honestly, that's his personal life. I got no business talking about that. If he wants to say something publicly, that's him, but it's like, right? So I had maturing to do. I'm sure some of the stuff, and I'm sure Seth Rollins would admit this, I'm sure that some of the things that he had did early on in his career as a much younger man, I'm sure that if he could take some of those things back, sit that younger version down and have a conversation, I'm sure he would do things differently. So they say with time comes wisdom. With time comes clarity. And we all go through it at some point, especially us men. We, once we're out of our 20s and we're going into our 30s, we start thinking about, okay, what's the foundation I'm trying to lay down here? Okay, I'm kind of ready to find that one true person, settle down, start a family. We really start laying down the foundation when we're in our 30s, and the more closer that we get to the big 4-0, the more emphasis we put on laying down that foundation and all of that. And in time, we wise up. And that definitely happened for me. And how old is Seth Rollins now? 35. So I'm 5 years older than Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins is 5 years younger than me. And to just see where he is at this stage in his life right now, I take my hat off to him, his maturity level and just the overall outlook that he has on life right now. And I'm sure he would attest to, hey, was I maybe a difficult person in the previous years? Did I maybe rub, people the wrong way? I'm sure he would definitely attest to that, but time brings the wisdom, and I really like the place where he is right now. And it seems that he has really found him a good, strong woman / wife in Becky Lynch to really ground him. And the fact that he is now a dad, and in a way it's just changed his outlook on life in general even more. I just couldn't help but really walk away just having even more respect for Seth Rollins. So definitely check out the interview. Definitely check it out. It was I would say one of the most strongest interviews I've seen as far as a guest goes on Steve Austin. You just really walked out of it. If you've ever been remotely a Seth Rollins fan, or you are a Seth Rollins fan, by the time you get done watching this episode, you really come away liking the man even more. And I find it so surprising. I'll say this, I'll touch upon this point. I find it so amazing that for almost most of his career, he didn't understand the whole, okay, promos and character. All he pretty much knew was, hey, I'm going to talk these folks into this match that's happening at this arena on Saturday, wrestling, as he kept referring to it. That's all he basically, pretty much knew. It wasn't really until he came into the WWE and really started finding himself and the whole journey of, oh, what's my character? And that's kind of one of the number one things that, we kind of talked about the most early on when it came to Seth Rollins' career, when we would always refer to, hey, he's kind of flat. What we really were referring to at the time was there's no character. What's his gimmick, right? And, he's come a long way. It's amazing to see that he struggled there. I'm looking forward to hearing what Jim Cornette has to say, because they did reference Jim Cornette a couple of times, and Rollins let it be no secret that he appreciates Cornette and his contributions and helping him out in his career and everything. There was some choice words that Cornette had said about Becky that has him pretty pissed off still to this very day. But I'm most curious what Cornette has to say in regards to not just that part, but the part about Rollins mentioning he didn't know anything about, character development and all of that, because if I remember correctly, I could be mistaken, but if I remember my timeline correctly, when Seth Rollins was Tyler Black in Ring of Honor, I believe Jim Cornette was there. So, my mind's a little murky right now. I'm trying to figure it out, because if Cornette was there, then I'm trying to understand, okay, well, Cornette, even way back then with Cornette, if he was involved in ROH, surely he did get the ball rolling with Seth Rollins about, hey, you need to work on this. This is your character. You gotta, right? So I'm a little bit confused on that one. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to say about that. Definitely. But he seems to be in a really good place. Good wife, has a child. He's got his own wrestling academy. He's got his own little coffee shop, restaurant that he opened up. I think he's got like 2 of them now down in Idaho. Yeah, he's done pretty good for himself, and he's only 35. I think that's just amazing. That is just amazing. It's even more amazing what you can do when you put your mind to it. That's the number one takeaway as well. That is the number one takeaway. But this was really about a guy that was trying very hard to find himself, find his identity. And now it feels as though all of these years, it's led him up to everything that he's doing right now as this drip king, the drip god. It's some of his best work of his entire career. It is some of his absolute best work. Even if you can't stand the gimmick, you can't help but just take a step back and say, nah, you know what? Yeah, this is the absolute best Seth Rollins since his entire run in WWE. And, that part I found very interesting, because I was ready to hear him say, yeah, well, this whole gimmick, I was looking at, stuff from pop culture, and I saw, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie, but it looks like, by all accounts, that had no impact on what's going on with this whole Messiah drip god gimmick. It looks like the Joker had no impact whatsoever, because many of us, when we were looking at this, we're going, oh, he's kind of doing a variation of, even my wife just, 'cause she's a casual wrestling fan, and whenever I have the shows on, she's watching. I remember some weeks back, She saw him come out, cutting his promo. She's like, wow, he's really doing this Joker thing good, isn't he? I'm like, yeah, you see it too, huh? She's like, yeah. But to now hear that, I don't know, maybe Austin didn't, he didn't think to ask or what. But by all accounts, it looks as though Joker has nothing to do with it. But yeah, check it out. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, yeah, check it out. It's about an hour, 44 minutes. Very good. Very good. Definitely very good. Very strong. Check it out when you guys get a chance. Other than that, I'm going to say that's it. I see now we've been on for about, let me look here. Let me look at the recorder here. We've done about 2 hours and 16 minutes. I say let's go ahead. Let's stick a fork in it. Let's call this show DONE done. There's definitely loads more stuff we can get into because we barely scratched the surface on this show, but we got the Tuesday and the Wednesday show. So again, Tuesday night, we got the NWA Power Reaction Edition show. That's going to come on at 7:05 p.m. Eastern. Check that out. Wednesday night, we got a new episode of RCWR show. That'll be on at 10 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite goes off the air. We'll cover Dynamite Fallout, key points from NXT. We can definitely get into some Impact news because a lot of stuff has gone down with Impact that we can get into. So we'll go a little bit all over the place on that show for sure. For sure, we'll go all over the place. Remember, patreon.com/RCWR show. That's where you can go check out bonus audio video content. And shout out to everybody that continues to support the show. Shout out to our sponsors. We are actually working with 2 new sponsors. One of them kicked in going into the weekend, but this is officially their first full week in working with us. We got another sponsor that just came on board, so we're happy to have them on board as well. Those of you that's going to be listening to the show on demand and on the downloads, the audio version, you're going to hear those ads. You made it up to this point. Appreciate it. Please, as you all get ready to make your exit, utilize that superpower that you have. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. Definitely hit that like button. When you hit that like button, you help put more eyeballs on the product. You really are doing your part in helping our content reach more people. You also are helping us as a community grow even more. So I always tell people, you like me, you like what I do, definitely one of the ways you can help. Even leaving a rating and review in iTunes, Stitcher, that definitely helps as well. Get at me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. And until next go around, I'm wishing all of y'all to be safe and most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you all next go around. Adios, y'all. Take care.